Comfort Him is a micro-short comedy horror film. It's about a sleep-deprived father who hears a baby crying and needs to go and comfort it. That, at its simplest, that's what it is. But realises that something's not quite right about this situation. And it obviously doesn't go that well for him. I first wrote it back in June 2016. I'd had conversations with Darwin and he tasked me with coming up with an 18-second film idea. And I decided, I'd write something down, but I failed and it was like a whole page, a minute long instead. But the idea was if we could film it, maybe we can just take the frames we need from it and tell the story in a very short fashion, like an advert, and still get it across. But it was all a very experimental idea. Darwin wasn't that interested in that idea, or it didn't seem logistically feasible for us at the time, because I very much wanted to try and shoot the film with a real baby. Although now, in hindsight, I would have loved to shoot it with a doll. But I met Hasse on the set of Sven Gunnar and found out that he was a massive film fan. Well, as a result of that, and learning that his wife was pregnant, they were going to have a baby, I just thought, well, it can't hurt, I'll show him the script. And he loved it. And so the idea came about as soon as his child, Alba, was old enough, maybe we could see if we could pull off this film. So that's ultimately where the idea came from. It came from a dream, a specific request to try and come up with a very short film idea, and then years later, when there was actually a captive baby ready to film with, then we tried to make it happen. The micro short, the idea for doing that kind of format, where that came about is obviously that we could have easily made like a 15-20 minute film out of this idea, and it would still be something really nice to explore. The idea was we'd seen David F. Sandby, or aka Pony Smasher, on various social media, this film director in Sweden making these viral short horror films and comedy horror pieces, such as Lights Out. We'd seen him have such great success with viral material where the Swedish Film Institute here wouldn't give him any money and try and help him realise any vision. They didn't take him seriously. But now he's working in Hollywood and he's on his third or fourth feature film, but all from those viral shorts. We've been making these short films and they've been getting into festivals and winning some awards. And people were asking us, well, where can we see your films? But often we couldn't, because films like Don't Forget to Breathe got picked up for distribution in Latin America. So we can't show that one to anyone. Mr. Clean is still doing its festival run. Sven Gunnar is just about to be released, but that has been on a long festival run. The idea to do something short and actually put it out on social media first was completely new for us. So rather than just go that established route and then hope it gets distributed and someone can get to see it someday, we very much wanted to make something, get it out there, let people see it, then put it into festivals. So it was all very experimental, but so far it's worked brilliantly, and we're hoping that Tumble Dying, the one that's currently in edit at the moment in post-production, that also gets received as well. There are lots of different definitions. The one we aimed for was specifically for 1 minute, and in that respect we failed initially, because Comfort Him is nearly a minute and a half. But there is a 60-second version of it which has got picked up for distribution by Troma on this Grindsploitation release. But yeah, ultimately we wanted to do a 60-second film, because at the time I think it was Instagram certainly, and most social media had this kind of 1 minute film limit for making sure that everyone can see it without having to go through extra hoops to jump through. But certainly it's worked brilliantly on Twitter and other social media. We've had 14,000 views, I believe. So in that respect, people have definitely had the opportunity to see it. Unlike those other films, which are longer and still in festivals and whatever, this idea of doing micro shorts, very much love it and want to do more of them.
Hi.
It was great. I'd already worked with both of them before. I met Hasse working on Sven Gunnar, and I met Sophie doing Mr. Clean. And it was a really good chance to get to work with them both, to say thank you for trusting us and for doing those previous films, and just to get to do something short and fun again. The idea for Comfort Him came out of me making Mr. Clean and Darwin and I doing Sven Gunnar and doing Don't Forget to Breathe before. All of these short films just took so long to get them made and get them out there. There were so many shots and so many elements that you needed to work through, even in post-production. The idea was simply, if we can do a short film, it takes less effort to make, less effort to shoot it, and so on. We can shoot them quicker, make more films, get them out. It hasn't necessarily worked out that way because of the pandemic, but it was a hell of a lot quicker than the 18 months that it took from shooting to releasing Mr. Clean to get Comfort Him done. So it was something like 5 or 6 months. Obviously, we didn't plan on having so many digital effects. We were going to do practical effects on set, and I was hoping to turn it around in like a month. But that didn't happen because we shot it just before the pandemic. We only had 4 hours to shoot it, so we didn't have time to do all the practical effects on set. So things took longer. But one of the other things that we did differently on this film was we did a more involved test shoot. In order to get something done for a minute, you needed to be really on point with knowing exactly which shots, how long they needed to be to communicate your vision. Would it work? Was it funny? How many frames do you need to make the punchline work, and so on. So we did a test shoot, a full test shoot, Darwin and I, where we played the main characters and did it with a doll, and it was a very quick and easy shoot to do, and so it seemed like a really doable project. And that's always a good idea, to do it, to block it out, work out exactly what you need, and even edit it, a la Robert Rodriguez on his 10-minute film school, where he does that for things like Desperado and so on, where he went out and shot all these sequences and he'd already cut them together before they finished building the set and getting ready to shoot it. So yeah, that's something that I would recommend to any filmmaker, is maybe you can't make the full project yet, but maybe you can cut like a version of you acting out parts and doing things, at least to communicate to other people what you need from them later on, and convince them that you can do this. You just need the tools to do it. That's all. Yeah, it was challenging. They say never work with children or animals, and although Alba was lovely, and Viking, the dog that was on set, you don't see it in the film, but although they're all lovely, it brings challenges. So hearing a dog's claws scampering around, or having a child that doesn't want to do what you want it to do, and hasn't quite got the language for you to be able to persuade it, it's a real challenge. But Alba was amazing, but it was so much easier shooting the film with a doll. Something that is inanimate and can't fight back, and so on. But yeah, it was challenging. It was a really fun shoot, but we planned it to be a 2-day shoot, and we ended up only having 4 hours to shoot the whole thing. As a result of that, luckily, because we'd done the test shoot, knew exactly what we needed to get, we just needed quite a few takes to get certain shots the way we needed them, or come up with creative ideas to reshoot them when Alba was fighting Hasse on trying to like fake the biting and so on. Also, because we had a limited amount of time, we certainly couldn't spray all the blood we wanted everywhere and do the full practical effects that we wanted, because we didn't have enough time to clean up afterwards. So 4-hour shoot, get in, apply the appliances, do all the shots, get out, and then do it in post, which takes a lot longer afterwards. But yeah, the actual film shoot was really good fun. It was really nice working with everyone again. I think Sophie loved working with Alba the most. She was just gushing over her and getting all broody, I think, through the shoot. And yeah, everyone was brilliant. Can't say enough good things about them. And also the actual making of the film through post-production. It all went so smoothly. It was brilliant. In fact, the only challenge we had was getting the blood right and getting the VFX right. Just because Albin was a bit squeamish and didn't want so much blood, whereas Hasse and I wanted buckets of it. We wanted it Yakuza style, Shogun Assassin, spraying blood everywhere, which he thought was a bit much. So it was interesting trying to get that compromise. Obviously, the other challenge of making Comfort Him, unexpectedly, global pandemic. We literally shot the film 2 days before kind of lockdown or the quarantine hit Sweden. So that brought some unique challenges. So at first we thought it was a clear slate, like no one could do anything else. It's not like you could go to work or something, that a lot of companies were going under. So we just thought the whole team would have plenty of time to work on this. But then I took too long finishing the edit, and then by the time I got it ready, everyone was inundated with work, especially Luca, for instance, on the sound mixing, and Albin with VFX and so on. Everyone in the whole team actually managed to survive through the pandemic working because people found a way to do it remotely. So yeah, that was a unique challenge in trying to kind of get the production moving along when actually you got to wait in line, got to wait for them to find room to fit you in because it's free. Darwin and I had done some films before. We did Sven Gunnar, and that's how we found Isabella, the makeup girl, and Hasse. I'd done Mr. Clean, and that's how we found Sophie. And also through the process, you know, color grading, Mr. Clean, and sound mixing, and getting the music score done. Essentially, we had the full team there, and how that came about was when we were coming to do this idea, and we were still finishing Mr. Clean. We just said, look, you know, understand if no one's interested because it's an unusual experimental project, but we're looking to do something really short and fun. Who's up for it? And we were very pleased that that everyone wanted to come aboard again, and that was great. Obviously, the key component there was we had to wait for our baby, Alba, to become old enough that we could achieve what we wanted with the shoot. So yeah, it was perfect. It was. Couldn't do it again now, obviously. It would be a completely different project. But it all worked out really well then. No, it didn't all go to plan. We planned to shoot over 2 days, and there were very specific reasons for that, because we knew working with a baby and the kind of effects that we were doing, that we might need lots of different attempts to pull off the exact framing that we needed to make everything work. We didn't have 2 days. We had 4 hours. Hasse had loads of other engagements that his agent had booked him for, so we needed to just pull it out of the bag as quickly as possible. There was a little pickup that we did the next morning just to get a couple of shots around the crib, and that was a challenge in itself because the first day was really sunny, so we were able to shoot quite at speed with a lot of natural lighting. And then the next day it was rainy as anything, so I had to fake the look of a nice sunny day so that you don't notice that you've actually completely changed time and temperature and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it brought some challenges together, but the reason for the 2 days was I didn't want to be stressed. I wanted to have the luxury to get everything just so, and I knew I was going to have to film it as well because I knew we didn't have the cinematographer again that we didn't have for Mr. Clean. But one of the creative solutions that we used in order to do this was having two cameras. So I would film the long shots, and Darwin would film the close-ups. So if we were going to do reversals, I could film from one side and Darwin could film from the other, and just try not to get each other in frame. Filming with two cameras, so making sure like I'm getting the long shot and Darwin's getting the close shot, but without getting into frame. That was a really key way in trying to get through the shoot twice as fast. Yeah. So there are always happy accidents on films, and one of them is in the editing. I realised to make this idea more special, it really needed something at the beginning and the end. Luckily, we managed to shoot something with Alba crawling around, and figured out a way. Well, what if we had her crawling around after she's just killed Hassett? So there's blood everywhere. And then at the start, we had this amazing shot of the crib that we were just using for B-roll initially. And I just thought, if we could pull off an effect shot, we could make that seem like the baby has materialized out of thin air, and kind of hint a bit at the origins of the baby, to immediately announce that this film is different, this is special. Also, yeah, actually shooting that test version, one of the other benefits was that was how we managed to convince everyone to come aboard to want to do the project, because we're able to show them this short film where we'd even cocked up the sound initially, so it had no sound, but even as a short silent film, very roughly edited, people got it, and people got the hairs on the back of the neck going, the chills. So we knew the horror element worked, and this is even before we actually had blood and special effects and everything else. But we knew it worked from a comedy perspective, and certainly from a horror perspective. And yeah, having that little test video, that was essential in getting people aboard. So why should people watch it? Okay. Hey, it's a minute and a half long. The question is, why shouldn't you watch it? To see why we're even doing a making of for a 1.5 minute film, I think it's worth talking about. Go and have a look at it. Thanks a lot. Bye.